Welcome to Fans of the Forge. I'm Chris. To my right we have
Teresa.
To my left we have
It's Sean.
And we are here with a wrap-up for Season 6, Episode 9, The Greek Kopis. First up, we have our Smiths, John Summerall. He's a part-time Smith with 1 year experience. We had Daniel Ivano, part-time Smith with 7 years experience, who got into it after going to a Ren Fair and seeing the blacksmith there. Then we had Mike Vanoy, who is part-time with 25 years experience, and he's a farrier full-time. Mm-hmm. So he's got a lot of smithing experience. And then we had Curtis Shaw, who is part-time with 9 years experience, and he's a maintenance mechanic. So this is all about spring. You must combine.
Springtime, folks.
It's springtime. Hey, there's the connection. We figured it out. That's why they did that.
I guess so.
So they must combine 3 small springs with a section of a large spring and make a blade between 11 and 14 inches with the overall length no more than 22 inches. And they must also acid etch before the end of round 1.
Right.
So for Dan, he decided to do a camp knife sax design, and he at first thought about doing a sanmai, but then changed it up and went for the canister. It was his first time doing a canister, and when he was at the press, the can just peels apart.
It came right apart.
It was nasty. We're not sure what the hell went back into the forge. According to Sean, it looked a little like a fruit roll-up, which I see that.
It looked like he unrolled it and then rolled it back, and it was all shot, and then he threw it in the forge. And I was like, "What? What is that thing? Like, what is it?" Because, like, it's a canister, and then like the shit opened up. So what did he do with that billet, quote unquote billet, to make it all flat and then like folded? And
I don't know. They didn't show it.
No, and it was weird because for his attempt at sanmai, he like flattened out the small springs. He had layers going on with like some like angle iron, and so I don't know if he threw some of that in there too. I don't know what was happening, but it looked like a fruit roll up.
It did. It definitely did.
It makes me want a fruit roll-up.
But anyway, he quenched with 1 minute left in the round.
Yeah.
For Mike, he was making a camp knife / chopper design. Yep. And he was grinding on his blade and put a big old hole right in the shirt.
But he's got more. It's okay.
Yeah, he's got it back up. And then when he was using the canister, he decided he wasn't going to use any of the liquid paper.
Right.
Which the judges commended him for. David Baker's like, that's a good idea, because then you don't have to even worry about taking the canister off. You just grind through it to get to the hard steel.
That's right.
He quenched, but he was not satisfied with the hardness of his blade. I believe Ben Abbott was like, let it cool down. Don't put it back in the forge.
Meanwhile, he's putting it back in the forge.
As he puts it back in the forge. But he did a second quench, and then he was much happier with the hardness of his blade. And then he cleaned his blade up and dipped it in the acid.
Not a lot of airtime for him during that first round, which is good.
Yeah, you don't want a lot in the first round. Usually that's a bad thing. So for John, he comes in, he's got a kilt on, which, good on him.
Celebrating his heritage.
Sure. Well, some people were talking about that on a Facebook comment that came up after that episode. Like, what's the point of wearing a kilt? And basically, a bunch of the comments were it keeps you cool because you get a good airflow in there, especially working in a hot forge. It helps maintain your body temperature a little nicer. So interesting.
Hey man, I mean, if you want to do that,
I'm not going to start wearing it anytime soon. I'm just saying. That's what I heard as an explanation. So he goes for the large camp knife design. He sets his weld and he peels the can away after about an hour. And then while he was drawing out his billet, you could see that there was a couple cracks.
Right.
Basically, that might have filled itself in if he had let it sit a little longer, I think, in the forge. But he decided to take his billet and weld it together and keep going. And he was able to try to fill in, like he was just going in to fill in those cracks with some material. And he was still forging on it and stuff at that point, so it was hopefully holding up.
Yeah.
And then he did his quench and file checked it a little too soon. You know, you could tell it was just digging in. Was this the one where Ben
was like, "Hey, you gotta let it cool.
Let it cool.
It hasn't hardened yet. Like you're checking it too soon."
Yeah. And then he's, does a second quench, and that's it. Cool.
Yeah, then he let it cool. Like, so I don't know if like he remembered all of a sudden that that's what you're supposed to do, or
who knows. And then for Curtis, he was going for a full tang buoy, and it was also his wife's birthday that day.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday
Here
to
comes
Curtis's
10 grand.
Did he
Maybe.
win? I don't know. And so for Curtis, he didn't have a can fully welded, so his powder spilled out.
Yeah.
During
while he was at the welding table. Like before he even got it out, it tipped over and
just fell out everywhere. He's like, well, I got to start over. So then he goes to the press with the second one, and he's trying to peel off the can, and the billet didn't set properly.
He only went to the press once. So right after he went to the press to set it, he's like, okay, time to peel off the can. And it's like, no, you got to do this for some cycles.
You got to put it back in the forge, heat it back up, get it back in the press. Right. And it just did not set at all.
No.
So for can number 3, he decided rather than using the canoe style, he'll grab the upright canister.
Record number, can number 3.
Yep.
Can number 3 with very little time left in the round. And unfortunately, the billet just did not set again. And he was left with what
he
was there.
Trying to get something going.
Attempt number 4, he started working on the big spring.
He just started to heat up the spring, and nothing made it into a can.
No. So for the judging, John had a nice shape, lots of mass. The handle still needed some shaping because it was a little large. For Dan, it was going to be interesting to see what steel is what during the grinding, because you have to see if he got past the mild steel and into the hard steel for his edge. And then for Mike, his handle was a little narrow at the front, and there was a little bit of a warp, but overall well done. And Curtis was the first time for someone try to make 3 cans on the show.
Yeah.
And Curtis got the boot.
Yep.
His was just not.
Well,
it was just a piece of metal.
He's holding a big spring.
Yeah, it was a spring. So, sorry, Curtis, but we move on to round 2.
So round 2, attach the handle, but must also include mosaic pins in the handle. So for Dan, there's mild steel all over the billet and needed to find where the hardened steel was. So he works on grinding out the delaminations. Decides to go with a burn-through handle, but has to create scales because it didn't work. He did it really well, though, or at least he was doing it properly where he got the tang like really, really hot and it was working, but it was just taking too long.
Right.
He doesn't end up finishing grinding the handle or shaping the blade before time ran out. He spent a lot of time on that burn through that didn't work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mike adds some weld to the part of the handle that was too small. He has trouble drilling holes in the tang, but no big deal after all. And then there was a small gap between the handle scales, and he fills it with epoxy. And then for John, his handle was too long, so he cut an inch out of the tang and welds the back piece back on to make it shorter. Makes Will cry out, "Oh my God!" when he breaks a drill bit. What kind of? They were tungsten carbide.
Carbide, yeah.
Yeah, and he was just putting all his weight into that thing, and
and then.
So I think it was Ben was explaining how these drill bits, you're meant to let them rotate slowly, pressure.
No, faster.
Faster.
Those are
right. So they go
pressure.
fast, right? But like you apply the pressure slowly.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And John was doing the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he decides to not make a pretty mosaic pin.
His pin was a little.
They need a mosaic.
Threw shit in there.
Hey, it's mosaic pin.
Hey,
it still counts.
Hey, I was all right. I was like, hey, it's mosaic. Like,
I've never done it. I don't know how to do that. So he got it done.
Yeah.
So the test was 6 strikes on copper pipes. Mike, there were no major issues except that the handle's a little round. Was that the one that had the where the copper pipe broke and it was flying
Yes.
through the
Oh,
air.
yeah, really slow.
Yeah.
Then John, the edge held up. It was light, fast, and fun to swing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dan, the handle isn't fully glued on, and it was unsafe to test. So he got the boot.
It was a shame.
Yeah. It wasn't even all the way up to
It just wasn't even on
all the way
fully.
up.
It wasn't all the way on.
In
the
any
tang.
regard,
It was
yeah.
like
It just wiggled.
a half-inch gap, and yeah,
And Ben's like,
it's too bad.
we got a problem.
I wanted to see that thing at least get tested. Like, I- you know.
You could see that it wasn't safe.
No, not
No.
at all. All right, so we don't
That's
have
round
anything
two.
else, right? We
All
don't
right,
have
that's the
anything
end of the
else.
show, guys. Hey, see you later.
So we are
Special treat, round 3. We're doing this kind of live.
live. We
Watching.
are watching the show and commenting.
So they are being asked to recreate the
Oops.
Greek Kopis.
While we see an ad for the Forge and Fire stainless steel chef's knife and skillet available now at
Oh,
Walmart.com, Kroger, Fred Meyer.
All right, so this is from the curved sword of the Greek cavalry.
Very similar to
Kukri-ish.
kukri.
Yep. Most of its weight near the tip. Powerful downward cuts. Blade swishing. So ferocious, it was capable of hacking off enemies' head with a single swing.
Used by the cavalry.
Yep.
Military legend Alexander the Great wielded one.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
All right. They must fall within the parameters of overall length 17 and 20 inches. Must include a fuller on both sides of the blade. Needs a guard, animal head pommel, and a connection between the pommel and guard.
Pretty badass looking weapon.
Yeah, it
right
looks
there.
pretty cool.
Did they have to forge the connector also, like make the chain?
They didn't show that. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know if they had to
the
make
full
it
chain.
or, you know, just have put something in between.
Yeah.
You get 5 days. So back to the 5-day.
All right, Will's still
And
talking.
then, well, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna. Oh, this is not attached to my computer.
All right, so Mike.
We don't. We already knew there wasn't. The only comment we had for Mike was that he was in his basement, and we're like, "You." Teresa's like, "I would
I don't-
never let
yeah.
you forge in our basement." So that's something we could say, but I think we say, "Listen, there was no major issues."
Well, no major issues, but I'd say maybe at least his billet construction. Because he was doing some Damascus, and then he did a 5160 core with like the Damascus on either side.
All right.
I think that's
let's just go through
between
it.
day 1 and day 2. What's this guy's name?
Uh,
Who?
Which one was this?
I don't know.
It's not John.
Mike?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so he's making a Damascus billet. And he's going to do a wrap, like a San Mai, with his Damascus on the outside and a solid layer. He's got 15 and 20, and then down the center is a solid piece of 5160.
That's a heck of a mix.
It's a lot of
there.
stuff going on.
Oh yeah.
That was cool though. It's not
Yeah.
something you see a lot.
That's a big chunk of beef right there. My
yeah.
goodness.
Oh yeah. And then for
John's in his little warehouse.
in Detroit.
Blah, blah, blah. And Uncle Pommel. Yeah.
I think we're good.
He's grinding. Oh, he's cutting. Oh, look, pieces. Damascus. Okay, yeah. He's making a Damascus too, and that's that.
All right. No major issues with
No.
the build, so we'll get to the testing.
Yeah. All right, so we got Mike's Kopis.
Look at that freaking thing.
So
That is
his
so badass
yeah,
looking.
he had his animal head, and then what he did for the joining piece between the head and the pommel is he had a ring that went through the horse's mouth as if it was reins.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
I think they both made horses, didn't they?
They did. They were trying to both keep it like the original one, but man, that freaking Damascus on his was so cool looking.
Yeah. And so John's up first for this keel test into the ballistics dummy. And here goes Doug. He's going to rip into it. Oh, yeah. Little
Good.
blood splatter
Just
there.
shooting out. Yeah.
So much goo.
Chunks flying
Yeah.
off. And then the
Oh,
stab and the
Gut
rib
stab.
break.
Oh, yeah. He's grunting. Yep, there's grunting happening.
With that last one too. Echoed shouting. Did you
Oh,
see that? There was
yeah.
some echoed shouting in there.
We're watching on closed caption.
All right. So,
Yeah,
there's
I
a
guess we
little
didn't say
crack in John's blade towards the handle.
And Doug's just covered in blood.
Yeah, the whole time.
It will keel, and caption says keel too.
Yep. Oh, yeah. They went out of their way
Yeah.
to really do those captions
Hey,
up right.
You better spell it right. All right. So Mike's turn. Oh yeah, that blood shooting everywhere. Yep, that dummy's dead.
More grunting.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Big old stab.
Right out the side there. Oh, and that liver is done.
Oh, yeah.
Echoed shouting. All right.
Good job. Thanks.
It's heavier, but every shot that you go in there cuts. Very sharp edge. It will kill. Nice.
Good test. It's always
Alright.
good to watch Doug tear into those ballistics dummies.
All right, Baker's turn. What's he got?
Shield.
And
It's
helmet.
2 soldiers. So you got the shield, the helmet. Let's see if that crack opens up for this guy here.
This guy, John.
This guy, Jan. Couple shots in the shield. Whacks the head.
So when we were watching this last night and he hit the dummy in the head, I don't know what, quick glance, it looked like a person in there. And I'm like, what are you doing? What's going on?
Took a bit of a roll. The crack did not open up, so did well.
Yep.
Mike's turn.
Second shot in the helmet didn't really do a whole lot, it seemed. It's just kind of a little teeny dent.
Edge took a little bit of damage. Peeled up a little sliver. Still a sharp blade all the way down. Got some heft to it. The handle construction makes up for it. Strong blade. So now it's back to Doug to test the edge. He's going to slice up some rugs.
Are his hands still red from...
No,
all
he's
the-
washed his hands.
He's washed his hands completely off.
I wouldn't want to stand there with all that fake blood.
Mm. And we hit the commercial.
Mouse
Oh,
is
and it's
okay.
the butcher
Oh.
commercial
The
that we
mouse
talked
isn't
about.
connected.
Yeah.
3 rounds, chopping some meat, one mystery meat. Oh, there was a snake.
Time to raise the stakes. Get it?
Oh my, the puns are heavy.
Cut through some rugs.
Oh yeah, choppy choppy.
Slashy, slashy.
Slashy.
Oh, look at those special
effects.
effects.
Ah, yeah. Mike. No, this is not cutting as well as John's to the rugs.
That last one went pretty well.
Yeah.
Right, but it seemed a little out of control.
Yeah, it wasn't.
They caught it close to the handle. That's where it was sharp.
So Doug
Diagonal
liked
cut.
the forward cut.
Forward weight. More of a chopper than a slasher. So cut him, it didn't slice into control. It will cut, though.
So
So it's pretty close.
it is pretty close.
It's tough because John has that little crack.
And Mike's pretty badass looking too. Like if that gives him an edge, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's still a lot about performance.
And the champion is John.
John, congratulations. And
15.
John had how many years?
He came in having made 15 blades.
That's right. He only
Period.
had made 15 blades up until that
That's
point.
crazy.
So he
So-
made his 16th in rounds 1 and 2, and then this was his 17th blade.
Wow, that is
That's
incredible.
wild.
Congrats, John.
Congrats, John. And, Mike definitely deserved the recognition from the judges
Yeah.
there at the end, which Will gave him because that was a really badass Kopis,
Yeah.
too. Everything about it was cool. They barely even show you much of the handles, right? You have to have this intense handle construction, but, nothing really went wrong with them, so they don't talk about it.
Yeah.
They only show the stuff that happened with the blade
Dramatic,
edge.
yeah.
So anyway, that was the episode.
I like to see that guy on it. I like to see Mike on there.
Yeah, I'd like to see Mike come back on at some point. That'd be kind of cool. But thanks everybody for watching. That was season 6, episode
9.
9, the Greek
Kopis.
Kopis. Thanks everybody for following us on Facebook and Instagram and
Hey,
YouTube.
by the way,
we have a giveaway going on.
There's a giveaway that's been extended for the month of May
31st. Get those entries in. You could win an ostrich egg. You could win some little mini crossbow bolts that are decoratively mounted in a box.
from the show.
From the show, from J.D. Hungerford providing the crossbow bolt tips for the episode that he won.
Yep.
And then the ostrich eggs coming from Zach from Forge and Feathers, who was on Forge and Fire 2 times.
Hello.
We have Teresa. Do you want to show your knife
Sure.
banner?
The only knife I'm probably ever going to make.
Here you go.
This kind.
Check that out.
And then I have pineapple hot sauce and mixed berry hot sauce available. One of those will get sent to the winner. Their choice. Some good hot sauce, fruity hot sauce that I've made in the kitchen here. So,
Right.
Come home from running errands. I'm like, you're making hot sauce again.
oh, you can smell it in the air.
Yeah, I
It's
believe it.
napalm in the whole kitchen. It's delicious. Anyway, remember to enter that giveaway. And check us out. Thanks again for following, subscribing, and all that good stuff.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.